If you're flying from, let's say, the eastern half of North America, or from anywhere in Brazil to Europe, there's a very high chance that TAP Portugal will be one of the airlines you consider. They fly to more destinations in Brazil than any other carrier outside of South America, and they are often the cheapest way to cross the Atlantic, especially if you're looking for a carrier in a major alliance. Being one of the few major European carriers that I hadn't tried yet, my main question was, is there a reason they're always so cheap? What are the trade-offs? Are there any trade-offs? The answer to that, in business class, is yes, and we'll see that as we're flying today to Paris Orly via Lisbon. By the way, if you're ever curious about the price that I paid for this flight, or the equipment that I use on a daily basis while traveling and creating, all of that can be found in the description below. Let me welcome any of you that might be new to the channel. My name is Kevin. I'm here to give you a self-funded and honest look at some of the best, most unique, or simply most popular airlines and hotels in the world, which I've been bringing to you full-time for 5 years now. I'd love for you to know more about how I do things on the channel, so simply scan the QR code or check out one of my hundreds of videos to do so. Let's get into the trip report. Welcome to Sao Paulo, a massive city in the south of Brazil that holds the title of the Southern Hemisphere's largest city, with its population of over 22 million people. Such a big city certainly needs a massive airport, but they've gone the multiple airports route here, with 3 serving the city. Guarulhos, where we're heading to now, is the largest intercontinental hub for the city, and the country. Most of those intercontinental flights will be taking off from the larger-than-life Terminal 3. TAP generally has 3 daily flights between Sao Paulo and Lisbon, and so check-in was quick and easy. Just a small suggestion for TAP, with the number of airlines these days offering premium economy, many of them referring to it as just premium, they might want to consider a different word for their priority services. What we know as TAP Portugal, or TAP Air Portugal today, commenced operations in 1945 as a state-owned enterprise, and has transferred hands between the state ownership and private ownership more than any other airline that I've known of. Their first routes were to Porto, London, and Sao Tome, spreading their wings further beginning in 1960 with a service to Rio de Janeiro. Goa, India followed the next year, a 19-hour ordeal with 5 stops. By 1969, they were flying to New York, and they were the only European carrier at the time exclusively operating a fleet of jets. My ticket today included access to the Safra Bank Lounge, which was a really nice open space with loads of seating areas, a full bar, and full variety of food on offer. The 70s, 80s, and 90s were that typical arc of expansion, fleet change, and consolidation, with the current century we're in now determined to shake things up a bit. In 2006, they bought the small airline Portugalia, which is now operated as TAP Express. At that time, the airline was state-owned for the second or third time, and later that decade the government decided to sell a majority share. Finally, in 2015, the deal went through, selling to the Atlantic Gateway Consortium, which David Neeleman, the founder of JetBlue, Azul Airways, and Breeze, was a half-partner in. Just the next year, though, the government kinda changed their mind, again, taking back a majority share and reducing Neeleman's consortium to 45%. Then just a couple years after that, in 2020, he sold his share of the consortium back to the government. Taking a look at the calendar right now, well, it's Tuesday, so it must be time to sell the airline again. Post-COVID, the government opened up the process for others to bid for a majority stake. The usual trio of players emerged. IAG, Lufthansa Group, and Air France-KLM all expressed interest. Of the 3, personally, I think TAP would fit best with Lufthansa Group's, let's say, streamlined operating philosophy. I don't think it's a great idea for IAG to be owning the majority of carriers across the entire Iberian Peninsula. And Air France-KLM, I just don't see them as a match. That's just me. Whichever airline is the winner in the end, though, is going to inherit quite the Brazilian network. They fly to up to 13 destinations in Brazil, half of those being cities that no other European carriers operate to. And because of Lisbon's location, they can reach quite a few of them with a narrow-body aircraft. If you're enjoying the video and would like to support the channel, there are many ways that you could do so. A quick like on the video and subscribe helps videos with the algorithm. You could join my YouTube channel memberships to get early access to some videos and access to all of my community posts. Or you could check out my Patreon, where I post the most, and can help you out with any travel-related questions. Whatever you do, thanks for doing it. Boarding began a few minutes behind schedule, but was swift once it started. Let's get on board our 5-year-old A330-900 Neo. So in the opening, I mentioned trade-offs for those lower fares, and the biggest one is in the business class seat itself. They are by far the tightest all-aisle access seats that I've ever sat in every direction. Let's get past the fact that I'm complaining about a business class seat. Yes, I know, the horror. But I'm just comparing it to any other seat that I've ever sat in. There's a small storage area above the side table, and both of your armrests fold up. I've never sat in this particular Recaro seat before, and after landing in Lisbon, was curious to just look up how much denser is this cabin than other airlines. Of course, these numbers can be affected by storage cabinets or bathroom placements, but I was just curious about how many seats other airlines fit between door 1 and door 2 on this same plane. The lowest count was on Garuda Indonesia with just 24, which honestly I think is not enough. That's a crazy low number. The majority of the carriers are in the 28 to 30 range, including Condor, Delta, ITA, Malaysia Airlines, and Starlux. Virgin is coming in at 32, and TAP at a tight 34. The only other airline to match that, no surprise, is Neilman's Azul Airlines. So my eyes, elbows, knees, and everything else were not lying to me. These seats were tight, and today also quite dirty. That said, if the price is right, the price is right. But specifically for this seat, I would choose the first row, even though it's closer to the aisle. It simply has loads more room. In my seat, I even had trouble trying to cross my legs. In the first row, you could have a small dance-a-thon. The foot cubby for most seats is very small and does not hold a standard size personal item. In this space, my backpack looks huge, but it's just a smaller 23-liter bag. Pre-departure drinks were passed around. A very sweet sparkling wine in this case, and the safety video began right after they closed the door. During boarding, it was boiling on board, and this was never entirely fixed. In the rear of the cabin though, it felt comfortable, but in the front, it was a good 10 degrees Fahrenheit warmer. A gorgeous clear takeoff is coming up. Let's take a look at some of the in-flight comforts before the meal starts. These were actually pretty good. The pillow was full size and nice and plump. The pretty thick blanket was very nice, plush and soft, but entirely too warm for the temperature up here. Menus and warm towels were passed around, and I was starting to get a feel for the service on board. The purser was all smiles and very engaging, from what I could see across the cabin at least. No one else followed her lead though. The service was by and large very to the point and very cold. We started off with a cute little ramekin of rosemary cashews, which were delicious, and I went for the San Sebastian Reserve. TAP prides themselves on serving all Portuguese wines on board. Here's a full look at the menu for today's flight. Note that the prices on the wine list are my addition to the graphic just to give you an idea of the wine value on board. One thing to be careful with, since the seats are tight, everything is just close to each other. If you have your drinks near the edge of your table and then deploy your monitor, your glassware will be knocked over towards you. You can see here, the glasses are a good 3 inches from the edge of the table, and the monitor is touching them. The tray service included a starter of sea bass, chickpea salad with spinach, black olives, tomato, and quail eggs. For the main dish, there were 3 choices: beef, grilled shrimp, or chicken, which I chose. It was served with tomato ragu, creamy corn sauce, pumpkin, green beans, and parsley. On a whole, this meal is where TAP shined brightest by far. I thought that everything was really delicious, well prepared and fresh, and I appreciated that they had flavors familiar to both Brazil and Portugal. I also do really love their classic serveware from Vista Alegre. Dessert is called a dessert trilogy: passion fruit and mango mousse with red fruit coulis, fresh fruit, and then cheese and crackers. I do love the concept of having all 3 categories served together in just very small portions. After the efficient service, some chocolates were passed around. Overall, I'm going to put this meal at an 8.4 out of 10. From that first drink service until the chocolates were passed out was just 50 minutes. 15 minutes after the service was complete, everyone was forced to close their window shades for the rest of the flight. This was at 5:30 p.m. local time. Very overkill. Entertainment on board was decent. I wouldn't call the selection extensive, but there were enough options to keep you entertained, and the system was good and responsive. They provided noise-canceling headphones as well. In the full flap position, the seat is not one that I enjoyed. For most passengers, the top third of your body will be free and comfortable. But the middle and lower third will likely feel restricted unless you sleep like a mummy with your feet together. If you do, I envy you. The second meal service on board would be a continental breakfast service. But before that begins, let's take a look at the amenity kit. It's a pretty basic kit, but it gets the job done. I believe they rotate through a few colors and eye shade designs. Bathrooms on board were a mess. Not that they were dirty per se, but they were a free-for-all. The front bathroom, it seems, was reserved for crew. I'm not entirely sure, but I know that that occupied red light never turned off. There were 2 more bathrooms designated for business behind the cabin as well. But economy was free to use them too, so there were always lines to access either of the bathrooms. Breakfast started out with a very good espresso, and then we were served a single-choice tray service. On offer was a plate of cold cuts and cheeses, a small fruit bowl, some breakfast breads, and a tub of yogurt. Overall, it was a perfectly sufficient breakfast as the second meal on a flight under 10 hours. Let's go for 7.2 out of 10. Soon after that, we were approaching Lisbon for an early arrival. Transiting in Lisbon is notorious for being a bit chaotic. The airport is just far too small for the number of transit passengers, and the services are painfully slow. When I got to immigration, you can see here there's no one online, nobody. I was 6th in line, and I didn't clear immigration for 45 minutes, since there was one border agent for non-EU passengers, and 2 of the passengers ahead of me each had problems. By the time I got through, the entire immigration hall behind me was filled from God knows how many flights. Once through, I didn't have a gate assigned yet, so I went in search of the lounge. If you're looking for it, try to head to the primary rotunda area and look up. The signage isn't exactly clear. I appreciate the signage telling me that the lounge is 27% full, but methinks this is way more than 27% full. Overall, the lounge was fine, large but still crowded, with a variety of continental breakfast offerings. Our gate was posted around 10 minutes before our boarding time, and I headed over to what turned out to be a bus gate. On board, the crew here were night and day from the first flight, a super friendly bunch that seemed to actually enjoy their jobs. The business class seats here are standard Euro business class, but I applaud TAP for giving us at least a little bit of padding. The seats themselves were pretty comfortable, all things considered. I had the row to myself, but at a minimum, the middle seat would be blocked. In the air, I had breakfast again and enjoyed this one even more. Exactly the same concept as the previous breakfast, but with noticeably higher quality items, and the crew would have piled my plate high with bread had I not stopped them. This one's going to get overall an 8.9 out of 10. In economy on these services, there would be a buy on board service. Just a quick side note, as of January 2026, I'm going back to a truly chronological posting order of my flights and hotels combined. That means that sometimes there won't be a single hotel video in a month, February for example. Or sometimes the majority of videos in a month, April for example, will be all resorts. This will just help me streamline my own mental timeline as I juggle a new project that I'm working on for 2027. Last up we have the bathrooms, which were kept clean throughout this short hop over to Orly. By the way, TAP only serves Orly in Paris. So as we begin our descent over the beautiful French countryside, let's talk about the ranking. Let's say that 80% of this is informed from that longer first flight. Overall, the service was a mixed bag. The food was good, some parts great. The seat though on that first flight is the major bone to pick for me. Not to mention how dirty it was. That said, TAP does present themselves as a more value-oriented full-service carrier. For the price, they are an interesting option, and for the right price, I'd have no problem trying them again. But if they're the same price as just about any other European airline across the Atlantic, one that's in an alliance at least, I'd probably choose the other. And welcome to Paris. I still have one more flight to catch though, to Berlin. So I really do hope that you enjoyed this full trip report on TAP Portugal today. If you did, please be sure to click the like button and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss my twice weekly flight and hotel videos. I'll see you next time on Transavia. As always, thanks for watching until the end.